Welcome to the Tradie Wife Life podcast, brought to you by Tradies in Business, where we talk to tradie wives about their goals, their challenges, their hopes and dreams, and how their trade business can help with that.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to our very first Tradie Wife Life episode for this new season of the podcast. We have a real tradie wife with us today, one of our lovely clients, Jacki Astley from Astley Electrical. Hello, Jacki. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Jacki and I were having a quick chat off air, and I've reassured her that everything's okay. It's far less painful than an actual private session with Warwick and I. She just gets to sit back, relax and chill today, not under the scrutiny at all. Jacki, how about you tell our listeners a little bit about how you came to be part of Astley Electrical?
Well, I came into the business in 2015. Miles needed someone in the office. He was still on the tools, and the back end of the business wasn't really being looked after. Mm-hmm. So I was working for a pest control business, and I lived on the other side of Sydney. So we met and had been dating for a couple of years, and then he asked me would I be interested, and our plan was for me to move up here with my three kids to Barra Heights. Mm-hmm. And it sort of didn't work out that way. I was travelling, so I used to get up at 4:45 in the morning and then travel up. And so that lasted a year, and I'd had enough of travelling, so I moved up to Barra Heights and started working. We got a home office, mm-hmm. And so I thought wouldn't have enough work to do.
Yep.
And as it turns out, boy, was I wrong. There was so much to do. There was years of filing. There was just understanding everything. I'd had a little bit of knowledge with doing payroll with that was with my old job, scheduling. I did that. And also I did a whole pile of stuff in my other business, so which transgressed from pest control to the electrical trade. Mm-hmm. So that, and 9.5 years later, I'm still
working harder than ever.
Working harder than ever, exactly.
Jacki, it's you've actually opened up with an excellent topic that I'd like to just delve into a little bit. Well, there's a few things I'd like to pull out of there. First of all, the transferable skills. I think we talk to a lot of women about coming into their trades business and what they might be able to contribute. And many of them are apprehensive because they feel like they don't know enough about the trade. And our standard answer is, well, when you ring the doctor, you don't speak to the doctor, you speak to the receptionist. And if they can't answer your questions, it's quite acceptable and okay that they either make an appointment for you to speak to the doctor, or they give you as much information as they can and they come back to you with the required answers in time. It's a little bit the same with the trade business. And when we think about the skills that we have obtained either in working in our various other professions or as parents, there's a lot of similarities between team and children, it can make a huge difference to confidence levels moving forward. So I guess what I'd love for you to help us understand is, in terms of your previous experience through your careers, what kind of transferable skills did you have from, now you were working in another trade business, in a pest control business, and even prior to that, when you first went into that one, working in that administration role, what were you able to bring to the role?
Yeah, great question. I started in as a legal secretary, so I started working for solicitors. So scheduling appointments, taking the phone calls, all the admin stuff and the protocol, especially with legal firms. You really needed to tick all the boxes, follow up on the emails. So all that is transferable. I ended up in the pest control game because I couldn't get a job locally, and I just wanted 2 days a week or 2 or 3 days a week, and this job came up that was local. And from there, again, I used the phone skills, the email, and I ended up doing, because I ended up working for 2 companies. And the last one was for my friends, and they wanted me to do tendering. So from my legal background and reading documents all the time and drafting documents and policy, all that sort of stuff, that was transferable to their company. So I helped them win a lot of tenders, and they were really new to doing tendering as well. So we won some big contracts. So from there, from the pest control, again, all of that was transferable. It was just a different product that was from pest to now electrical, and I had to learn all the terminology.
Yes.
So all of those things, and even now, even recently, using that skill of writing and writing policies, which I've done with this business, has again gone right back to working as a PA for a solicitor.
It's incredible how many transferable skills we have. And I feel like we have, as you would know, Jacki, a large part of our community are teachers or they're in the health space. And within those two spaces, people often feel like, well, this is a very intricate career that's very insular. And I don't believe that to be true. I think there's a lot of those skills, like triage skills or negotiation with children is like negotiating with any client or team member you're ever going to have, or like you say, policy writing, because of your writing experience that you had previously. All of that can transfer over into a trade business. We don't actually need to know how to build a house, or we don't need to know how to run the wires, or we don't even really need to know a lot about what is involved in that, other than enough to do the task at hand. And just like any other position in any other business, that's something that can be learnt over time. We don't have to come in with a bunch of knowledge. I think the most important thing is the communication between, in your case, partners or husband and wives, the tradie and the tradie wife. That's the key for this to be successful. Given that you and Miles were still in a newer part of your journey as two families coming together, were they decisions that you made around how you would communicate, how you would work together beforehand, or did you just agree to jump into the business with him and you figured it out as you went?
Well, I think a bit of both. Yes, we did discuss it, and we tried to leave discussions of business out of work hours. But of course, back then, Miles was still getting phone calls on his phone, and we're both passionate about the business growing. So we tried to disconnect, but that was really hard, and we really were conscious of it.
It can be difficult, can't it? I wonder then, so this was the second part of the question after your introduction. We find lots of women are hesitant to get involved in the business for many reasons. There's lots of reasons why we feel that hesitation. Did you have any hesitation when Miles first spoke to you about the opportunity?
Only that I was moving the other side of Sydney. I didn't have any hesitation, and of course that there was a lot involved in that. Yeah. I felt confident that because I'd been in the pest and I was actually I was the office manager. So I was just transferring the role. So I didn't have, the only thing was managing staff, doing that side of things, which I only had a small part in my previous job. So I could say, yes, that was mainly managing staff and their emotions.
You're a great mum who has all that experience of being a mum, and being a mum is just like being somebody who has to manage staff. It's all, again, they're transferable skills. We're negotiating the same way. We're trying to understand some of their added complexities. We're communicating in similar ways. It's amazing how similar those two roles are. We talk about it a lot here at TIB. Jacki, what did it look like in the beginning for you? Did you jump straight in and you were full-time, or did you kind of tread water for a while and spend a bit of time just doing a few days a week? How did that work for you and Miles?
I started working full-time and trying to get a feel for the business. And when I realised there was a lot to do, this isn't 2 days a week. I won't have to look for another job. This is full-time.
Yeah. So were you in a position then, this might be a personal question, and it's one I know that lots of ladies like to hear back from. Many of them, when we're giving up a career and, there's that sense of our own contribution to the financial situation that we're in. Many women jump into the trade business. They don't necessarily take a wage for themselves immediately, or they're not at least proportioned a wage from the business. Is that something that you guys created, that structure straight away for you and your role? You did. Great.
Yes, yeah, definitely. We needed to.
Yeah.
That was discussed from the get-go.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important because it's a big thing for us to, many women feel like we're sacrificing to give up our careers to come and work in the business, even though there are so many benefits. I'm making it sound dreadful and it's not meant to. There are so many benefits with flexibility and lifestyle choices and contribution to something that's bigger than, when we're working for somebody else, essentially we're contributing to their goals and their desires, less so for our own. When we're working in our own businesses, we get to determine our own goals and work together towards creating those outcomes. So there's so much to be said for it. And it can be a very challenging decision to make to jump into the business in the first place. I really advocate for ensuring that there are a couple of things in place. First of all, that you're getting your own determined wage. So you feel like you're being remunerated for the work that you're putting into the business. And secondly, position descriptions. It prevents so many crossovers and opportunity for friction or disagreements. Jacki, did you and Miles have specific position descriptions when you first came into the business? Or again, was it just kind of a holistic role and you jumped in and you did your bit and Miles did his bit? How did that look?
Yeah, definitely roles. Like he was the director, I'm managing director now, and definitely I was the admin person, which evolved to become the office manager. It took a little while for the existing team members to get used to. They've got a helping hand in the office. They don't have to ask Miles the questions, what's happening tomorrow. So that took, and the confidence for them to ring me, because at that point in time, we actually didn't have an operating system.
Okay.
So no scheduling. So yeah, it was quite different to what it looks like now.
That's a great segue. Can you give us some insight? So when you first came into the business, there were Miles and how many other team members?
So there was, I think you had a team so it was Miles and three to four.
Okay.
Between a mixture of tradesmen and apprentices.
Yep. So still quite a big team.
Yes. Yeah.
And what does it look like now?
Now we have Miles, who's off the tools, the two directors, Aaron and Ben, and which are Miles' sons, my stepsons, and we have another tradesperson and three apprentices, and we're looking at we've got one that's in the pipeline and possibly another one. So we're looking at 5 tradesmen and 3 apprentices.
Yeah, that's a lot of work happening. Essential for an operating system. Is that, tell me about your process, Jacki, going from no operating system, which I imagine meant that it was extremely admin heavy because you would have had to do a lot of the collating, scheduling, communicating with all of the team. Nowadays, job management systems will do a lot of that heavy lifting. And I know that you guys have had a journey through a few. Where did you start with your journey with your operating system and what does that look like now? Because it's only recently changed.
Well, we started just using, was it Google Calendar, which Aaron said, look, let's start with this. And then we went through a company that helped us decide what was best for us, what operating system. And that really, really helped us understanding. And Miles needs to get everything out of his head and into the system. So that's in 2019. So it's not that long ago that happened. And then we outgrew Tradeify. We went to a scorer, and that was because our work was going from service work to construction. Tradeify just couldn't do what we needed it to do for variation works and stuff. So a scorer which we started in March this year.
I'm asking you a leading question only because I know the answer, but lots of our listeners will like this answer or really need to hear it, I guess. What was the transition process from one to the other like for you guys?
From paper to Tradeify it was hard, but nowhere near as hard from Tradeify to a scorer. And you brought it to our attention. You've got the most complex system.
It's a hard one.
But with all the training that we've had with this company, Trading Pad, it really, really helped us.
That's great.
With having every week, and even now I still have toolbox talks with them. I've got a question, does this work? How do I upload all the price file from the wholesalers each month, and all the different tweaking? And you got them. Yes, it costs, but we found that the team understands how to use the app, how they're supposed to put in their times.
I think yes, it's expensive to get the training. Yes, it's a necessary evil, but I think it saves money over time, because I don't know how many people we talk to that use maybe a third of what their job management system can do for them. And so they're missing out on lots of cost savings, or they're unable to back costs, for example, and then understand, okay, I'm consistently losing money on this particular type of work or with this particular team member. We can make quick changes when we've got the right operating systems in place. So it's great that, yes, it's very hard to transfer from one to another. I do make that point consciously. I think it's important when we make decisions about which system to take on, we try to the best of our abilities to think about where we want the business to be in 5 years' time, so that we can make decisions with that in mind. But then, like you've pointed out, sometimes business just changes direction and you're in a position where you have to change. That's why that support becomes super important, I feel. Jacki, could you explain to us, so you've come into the business, everything's still in Miles's head, there's lots of paper systems. It took a long time for you to put a bunch of structure in place. What does the business look like now in terms of your role and how your role contributes to the overall running of the business?
Sorry, repeat that question again.
It's okay. So your role has changed from when you first started in the business, and now it's quite a complex role. You've gone from being administration person to office manager. Explain just what it looks like now. What are you now responsible for?
I'm responsible for the whole office works, including the end of month, the financials, getting all that prepared so that the directors can see at the end of the month how that business is going. I do have an admin lady that comes in a couple of days a week. So the training and the systems that have to be in place, and that's what I'm really heavily concentrating on, because if something happens to me that I cannot work for a period of time or whatever it is, if I'm not there, there's no one else to look after my role that knows exactly what I'm doing. So I have delegated a lot of things. I was doing the marketing side of the business, but I just had too many hats. And that was something that we could outsource. They look after the website, they do everything. So we've just got to provide the content. So my role has changed where I'm training staff. It hasn't changed massively, I don't think, from the day I started, because I started with doing all the admin stuff and all the accounts and invoicing. And so the only thing I could say was mainly the staff roles. And
Jacki, you and Miles are working really, actually the four of you. So you've got your two stepsons in the business as directors as well as Miles. The four of you are working really hard to set up the structure of this business so that it becomes either a saleable asset, well, in any form, so that it becomes a saleable asset, regardless of what happens next for you guys. Can you tell us, maybe share a bit about what you're specifically working on at the moment in terms of creating this saleable asset for your business? The systems and the structure of the systems. Can you talk us through what that looks like for you?
Yeah, so I'm learning about how to do videos, and also all the existing SOPs that I've got in place that I needed to set up for our admin person. I'm finding out and learning how to put that in place so that any team member can come in. So we're really working hard that the business is sustainable for the future. For the boys, and Miles and I will be stepping back. We'll still be working in the background, hopefully just 2 days a week. And yeah, so basically for the business to be sustainable.
Love it. So the plan is for you guys to be able to step back to 2 days a week, maybe move somewhere closer to the water, if I remember correctly. And then eventually, would you like to see yourselves completely out of the business? Is that the idea for you both?
We've discussed this quite a lot,
Mm.
and don't think we can let it go.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a passion for the business, and seeing that thrive with the boys running it, I don't think we'd be able to help ourselves. We'd like to help them and be in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And we've put a lot of hard work
Mm.
into it, as the boys have as well. Like, they're doing great.
So, Jackie, I was going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask it because we've got plenty of time. What's the favourite part of what you do, and what do you really despise doing in your role?
My favourite, probably doing like the end of month and seeing the results. I do enjoy that part of it.
Yep.
Despising timesheets.
I could have almost picked that one for you, actually. They're such a pain, aren't they? I don't understand why everyone can't just get on board and do what they need to do and make it easy, but they are really frustrating.
Oh my gosh. And they've got all they've got to do. It's just like, guys, this is part of your job.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I reckon there's a bunch of tradie wives listening that have just nodded in agreement. Yep, they don't like having to chase those up either. It's not fun. And it does hold you back from you being able to complete the necessary parts of your role. And it can financially be a big burden as well, because it can hold up all sorts of invoicing processes. So it's very essential. It's just hard work to get them to understand how essential it is also for them, isn't it?
Yes.
Wonderful. Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved learning a little bit more about Astley Electrical, but most importantly about your role and your transition over time in your role. It's great working with the four of you. We do really enjoy the time that we get to spend with you, but I've really loved our chat today. Thanks for being here, Jackie.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. You got through it. You can relax now.
Can relax now.